Nathan Laviolette was a man whose name echoed through luxurious halls and exclusive social circles. His face was always adorned with a confident smile, while his gaze swept across the crowd in search of new conquests. He was the epitome of success, wealthy, charming, and the owner of a business empire that seemed to know no bounds. Yet behind the flawless facade resided a cold and uncommitted heart. Nathan saw women as mere accessories to feed his vanity and satisfy his most carnal desires. His mansion, imposing and majestic, was the stage for lavish parties where champagne flowed freely and music echoed through the gilded halls. Stunning women gathered around him, eager for a glimpse into the luxurious world he represented. Nathan knew how to enchant, how to seduce, but his interest was fleeting, ephemeral like a flame that consumes its oxygen and soon dies out. His encounters were brief and superficial, leaving behind a trail of broken hearts and empty promises. For Nathan, love was merely a passing illusion, a romantic notion reserved for the weak and naive. He delighted in the adrenaline of conquest, in the fleeting sense of power that came with each new victory. Yet, no matter how hard he tried to silence the voice of his conscience, something inside him yearned for more. A persistent emptiness lingered, despite all the distractions and material pleasures money could buy. Nathan Laviolette was a man in search of something he could not even define, lost in a labyrinth of his own making. Beyond being the renowned magnate behind towering buildings and the Laviolette hotel chain, Nathan seemed to live in a world of constant glamour. His name echoed through the corridors of the most luxurious hotels in the world, where excellence and comfort were evident in every carefully planned detail. From paradisiacal resorts to high-class boutiques, each Laviolette property promised indulgence and sophistication. But despite his vast fortune and business success, Nathan carried a sense of emptiness, as if something essential were missing from his life. Behind the impeccable smile and aura of power, there was a man searching for more than just conquering the business world. He longed for a genuine connection, for a love that transcended superficial boundaries and filled the void in his heart. It was in this backdrop of splendor and prestige that fate prepared an encounter that would change everything. Clara, with her golden hair that seemed to capture the sunlight and eyes as bright as a summer day, was a young woman who radiated captivating beauty and genuine kindness. Her presence was like a ray of light amidst the seriousness of corporate corridors, and her warmth won over everyone who crossed her path. It was this unique combination of beauty and integrity that caught Nathan's attention when he was looking for a new receptionist for his company. Clara was not just a charming presence, but also a dedicated and competent professional, whose upright character shone through every interaction. When she received the news that she had been selected for the position at Nathan's company, Clara felt thrilled and grateful for the opportunity. She knew she was about to enter a world of luxury and power, yet she remained true to her values and principles, determined to do her best work, no matter how dazzling the environment around her. To Nathan, Clara was more than just a receptionist. She represented a breath of fresh air in his ruthless business world. Her calm presence and warm smile brought a sense of peace and serenity to his hectic days, and he found himself increasingly intrigued by the young woman who seemed so different from everything he knew. And so, while Clara greeted visitors with her natural grace, and Nathan admired her from afar, destiny wove the threads of a story that would intertwine, their fates in ways neither of them could have imagined. Nathan could not help but notice Clara's radiant beauty from the moment she first stepped into the company lobby. Her eyes shone like stars in a night sky, and her smile lit up even the darkest corners of that corporate environment. It was as if she carried an aura of charm that captured everyone's attention, including Nathan's. As days turned into weeks, Nathan found himself increasingly drawn to Clara's presence. Her beauty was only the beginning. He discovered that there was something deeper within her, something that intrigued and attracted him in ways he could not explain. It was as if Clara possessed a serenity and kindness that called to him, touching something inside that he didn't even know existed. No matter how hard he tried to ignore these feelings, Nathan could not keep Clara out of his thoughts. She seemed to permeate them in a way that left him restless and anxious, longing for every interaction, every exchanged glance, every shared smile. He knew he could not allow himself to be swept up by these emotions, that he had responsibilities and commitments that tied him to a world that left no room for true love. Yet the more he tried to resist, the stronger the attraction pulling him toward Clara became, as if destiny itself were conspiring to bring them together in some inexplicable way. Clara was a young woman whose kindness and integrity served as the pillars of her life. From an early age, she had learned that true goodness was not measured by material wealth or social status, but by small acts of compassion and generosity toward others. In the competitive and often ruthless corporate world, Clara stood out not only for her stunning beauty, but also for her compassionate nature and the way she treated everyone with respect and consideration. She firmly believed that true success did not come solely from reaching the top of the corporate ladder, but also from helping and supporting those around her. For Clara, integrity was more than just a pretty word. It was a code of conduct she followed in all areas of her life. She believed in doing the right thing, even when it meant facing challenges or sacrificing her own interests. Her honesty and upright character were like a beacon guiding her actions, even in the most difficult moments. It was this unique combination of kindness and integrity that made her so irresistible in Nathan Laviolette's eyes. He admired not only Clara's outward beauty, but also the inner beauty that shone through her actions and words. While he found himself drawn to her, it was her genuine nature and compassionate heart that captivated him most deeply, touching something within him he hadn't known existed. When Clara's father fell gravely ill, it was as if her world crumbled around her. The man who had always been her pillar of strength and support was now lying in a hospital bed, battling a cruel disease that threatened to take him from her forever. Clara felt her heart tighten with anguish and fear, knowing that time was critical and that urgent surgery might be the only chance to save her father's life. Unfortunately, the operation he needed was expensive, and the family's resources were insufficient to cover the exorbitant costs. Clara knew she could not simply stand by while her father fought for his life, so she made a difficult decision. She had to find a way to raise the money, no matter what it took. With a determined heart and focused mind, Clara began exploring every available option. She worked during the day at Nathan's company, fulfilling her responsibilities with dedication and commitment, and at night she searched for extra opportunities, even if it meant sacrificing her sleep and rest. Clara was willing to do anything to save her father, even if it meant sacrificing her own dreams and comfort. She knew that love for her family mattered more than anything material, and would do whatever was necessary to ensure her father received the treatment he needed. Facing Clara's desperate situation, Nathan became aware of the struggle she was enduring to save her father. Observing her dedication and tireless effort, he could not help but feel moved and impressed by the determination and love she showed for her family. It was then that Nathan decided to offer a helping hand to Clara, not just as her employer, but as someone who genuinely cared about her well-being. He knew he had the resources to help her overcome this difficult ordeal, and was willing to do whatever it took to ease the burden she carried. In a sincere and heartfelt conversation, Nathan presented Clara with an offer that could change their lives forever. He would provide the financial assistance needed for her father's surgery in exchange for a trip around the world by his side. As his secretary, Nathan knew time was critical for Clara's father, and he wanted to offer a solution that was both swift and effective, while also allowing Clara to enjoy a unique and unforgettable experience alongside him. To Clara, Nathan's proposal was like a ray of hope in the darkness surrounding her, yet it sounded like an improper offer. Given Nathan's reputation as a notorious playboy, despite Nathan's generous offer, Clara felt torn in considering his proposal. On one hand, the idea of saving her father's life was too tempting to ignore. On the other, she hesitated at the intentions behind Nathan's suggestion. She knew she could not compromise her integrity and values for financial assistance, no matter how desperate the situation. With a mixture of gratitude and determination, Clara initially refused Nathan's indecent proposal. She knew she was capable of finding a solution to her family's problems in a way that would not compromise her dignity or self-respect. Even in the face of hardship, Clara remained true to her principles, knowing that true help came from those willing to offer it, without expecting anything in return. As the days passed, Clara's father's health worsened, leaving her increasingly anguished and desperate. She saw the suffering etched on his face, the battle for life he fought with every ounce of strength, and felt her heart tighten with pain and helplessness. Despite her initial refusal, Clara could not keep Nathan's offer out of her mind. She knew she was running out of options, and time was slipping away quickly. Then, in a moment of despair and uncertainty, Clara reconsidered Nathan's proposal. She weighed the consequences of accepting his offer and what it would mean for her dignity and self-esteem. In the end, however, the need to save her father's life outweighed any personal concern. Clara knew she could not let her pride stand in the way of saving the person she loved most in the world. With a heavy but determined heart, Clara finally accepted Nathan's proposal. She knew she was entering into a risky agreement, but she also recognized that it was the only chance to save her father. And so, with tears in her eyes and a mixture of relief and sorrow, Clara took a step toward a journey that would change her life forever. After accepting Nathan's proposal, Clara anxiously followed the unfolding events as her father was prepared for the long-awaited surgery. The hospital atmosphere was thick with tension and anticipation, but also with a renewed sense of hope. Clara held her father's hand firmly, conveying all the love and support she had within her. Finally, the awaited moment arrived, and Clara's father was taken into the operating room. As she waited anxiously, Clara silently prayed for a positive outcome, for the success of the surgery that could change her family's fate. Every second felt like an eternity, but at last, the operating room doors opened, revealing a smiling medical team. With a sigh of relief, Clara received the good news. The surgery had been a success, and her father was recovering quickly. Her heart overflowed with gratitude and joy as she saw the weak smile on the face of the man who had always been her hero. She knew there was still a long road ahead, but in that moment, all that mattered was that her father was alive and had a chance to recover. In the days that followed, Clara's father showed remarkable progress, surprising even the doctors with his strength and determination. Clara was by his side every step of the way, caring for him with all the love and devotion she had to give. And as her father moved closer and closer to full recovery, Clara felt grateful for having had the courage to accept Nathan's help, knowing that her decision had saved the life of the person she loved most. With her father's successful recovery, Clara felt a weight lifted from her shoulders. It was as if a huge burden had been removed from her soul, leaving her free to breathe again. And with gratitude pulsing in her heart, Clara embarked on a journey that would change her life forever, a trip around the world alongside Nathan. The exotic destinations and breathtaking landscapes they encountered on their journey were simply awe-inspiring. As they explored new cultures and experiences, Clara discovered more about herself, her inner strength, and her own desires and dreams. However, as the trip progressed, Clara began to notice a subtle change in Nathan's behavior. His gestures became more intimate, his looks more intense. He began to try to seduce her, drawing her into a dangerous game of flirtation and temptation. Despite the temptation, Clara remained steadfast in her refusal. She knew her relationship with Nathan was based on a risky agreement, and she was unwilling to compromise her integrity or dignity for anything. As grateful as she was for the help he had provided her father, Clara was determined not to let it influence her decisions or jeopardize her own happiness. With each advance from Nathan, Clara reaffirmed her stance with quiet determination. She knew she could not control what she felt in her heart, but she also knew she had the power to choose how to respond to Nathan's advances. And so, as they continued their journey around the world, Clara remained firm in her refusal, determined to follow her own path, no matter the temptations she encountered along the way. As their trip around the world progressed, Nathan began to feel increasingly frustrated by Clara's steadfast rejection of his advances. He had relied on his charm and persuasive skills to win her heart, but Clara remained impenetrable, maintaining an emotional distance that left him perplexed and unsettled. Nathan's disappointment was palpable, like a dark shadow looming over his joy and enthusiasm for the journey. He could not understand why Clara resisted him so strongly, why she continued to reject his attempts to draw closer. For a man accustomed to getting everything he desired, Clara's resistance was a mystery that consumed him from within. However, even in the face of disappointment, Nathan did not give up. He was determined to win Clara's heart, even if it meant changing his approach. He began to show a kinder, more attentive side of himself, seeking to build a true and deep connection with her rather than trying to seduce her with empty promises and grand gestures. As Nathan made the effort to show Clara who he really was, she began to notice a change in him. She saw the sincerity in his eyes, the vulnerability behind his facade of power and wealth. And as the journey continued, the two of them began to grow closer in ways neither could have anticipated, discovering that true love often comes when we least expect it and in ways we never imagined. After returning from the trip alongside Nathan, Clara went back to work. Although the agreement that had brought them together had ended, she knew her journey was far from over. Her heart was full of memories from the places they had visited, the people they had met, and above all, the lessons they had learned along the way. Back at Nathan's company, Clara threw herself into her responsibilities, dedicating herself to her work with renewed enthusiasm and determination. She was determined to prove to herself and others that she was more than just a beautiful receptionist. She was a talented and capable professional, ready to face any challenge that came her way. Meanwhile, Nathan was also grappling with his own reflections and discoveries. The trip with Clara had transformed him in ways he had never imagined. He was learning to value human connections over material possessions, to understand that true love could not be bought or negotiated, but earned through sincerity and dedication. As days turned into weeks and weeks into months, the relationship between Clara and Nathan continued to evolve. They discovered a new way of relating to each other, based on trust, respect, and mutual understanding. And in the end, what had begun as a business arrangement was turning into a story of care and love. One beautiful day, Clara, feeling quite nervous, made her way to Nathan's office. Her heart beat rapidly in her chest as she approached the door. She knew she was about to make a decision that could change everything between them, but something inside her pushed her forward, fueling her courage. When she finally reached Nathan's office door, her hand trembled slightly as she reached for the doorknob. With a deep breath, she turned it and stepped inside, finding Nathan focused on his work, unaware of her presence. With a hesitant step, Clara moved closer to him, her heart pounding even harder with each step. Then, without hesitation, she leaned in and kissed him softly on the lips, letting her emotions speak for themselves. For Nathan, that moment was like a revelation. He felt a wave of warmth and tenderness flood his body as he surrendered to Clara's passionate kiss. He had never imagined that such a simple gesture could hold so much meaning, but now, as he wrapped his arms around her, he knew he was experiencing something truly special. The kiss lasted only a few seconds, but for Clara and Nathan, it felt like an eternity. And when they finally pulled away, their eyes met in a moment of pure connection and mutual understanding. There, in that quiet office, they realized that love was blossoming between them, a spark ignited by Clara's courage and the sincerity of her feelings. And so, they took the first steps toward a journey of love and discovery, ready to face whatever challenges the future might bring, together. Clara looked into Nathan's eyes with a mixture of nervousness and determination. She knew she needed to be honest with him, to open her heart and reveal the truth behind her resistance to his advances. Taking a deep breath, she began to speak, her words filled with emotion and sincerity. "I resisted your advances, Nathan, not because I didn't feel anything for you, but because the proposal you made was indecent," Clara confessed, her voice trembling with the intensity of her emotions. "I didn't want to give myself to you under those circumstances because I wanted more than just a business transaction between us. I wanted love, respect, and commitment." Clara's words echoed through the room, filling the space with palpable tension. Nathan stared at her, surprised and moved, impressed by her courage and honesty in revealing her true feelings. He realized that he had underestimated the depth of Clara's emotions, her strength, and her determination to fight for what truly mattered to her. With her heart heavy with emotion, Clara continued to speak, her voice soft yet steady. "But Nathan, I desire you too. From the moment we met, something inside me awakened, something I cannot ignore. I long for your company, your presence, your touch. I want to explore this feeling growing inside me, because I think it could be something special." As Clara's words echoed through the room, Nathan felt a wave of warmth and joy flood his heart. He had never imagined that Clara could feel the same way he did, that their desires and hopes were aligned in such a deep and meaningful way. And there, in that moment of vulnerability and sincerity, they realized they were standing before a unique opportunity to explore the love blossoming between them, an opportunity they could not let slip away. With renewed determination, Nathan looked into Clara's eyes and spoke the words he had held in his heart for so long. "Clara, I love you," he said, his voice firm and full of emotion. "I love you more than I ever thought possible. You are the light of my life, the reason my heart beats stronger. I cannot imagine my life without you by my side." Clara gazed at Nathan with tears in her eyes, feeling moved and grateful for his sincere words. She had never imagined he could love her as much as she loved him. And knowing that their feelings were mutual brought a sense of joy and relief she had never known before. That night, Clara and Nathan surrendered to the whirlwind of emotions consuming them. Under the soft light of the moon, they gave themselves to the love that surged within their hearts, leaving behind all doubts and fears that had kept them apart for so long. Every touch, every kiss was filled with passion and desire, an explosion of feelings that enveloped them like a sweet melody. They lost themselves in each other, navigating the turbulent waters of love with renewed confidence and unwavering determination. For Clara, it was as if all the pieces of the puzzle of her life finally fell into place. She felt complete beside Nathan, as if she had finally found the place where she truly belonged. Her heart overflowed with happiness and gratitude, knowing she had found someone who truly loved her, someone with whom she could share her deepest dreams and desires. For Nathan, that moment was a rebirth, a redemption for all the mistakes of the past. He surrendered to Clara's love with an intensity he had never known before, vowing to protect and love her forever. In her arms, he found peace and fulfillment, knowing he would never be alone again as long as he had Clara by his side. As morning brought the first rays of sunlight, Nathan awoke beside Clara, his heart still echoing the passionate beats of the night before. As he gazed at her serene and beautiful face, he reflected on the lessons he had learned. He realized that a true woman could not be treated as a mere object of satisfaction, as he had in the past. Clara was far more than that. She was a complete human being, with her own dreams, desires, and dignity. She deserved to be treated with respect, love, and admiration, not merely as a trophy to display or a conquest to check off a list. Nathan felt a wave of gratitude and humility fill his heart as he turned to Clara. Determined to show her how much he valued and respected her, he knew he had much to learn about the true meaning of love and respect, but he was willing to do whatever it took to earn her heart. With a tender smile on his lips, Nathan wrapped Clara in a warm embrace, promising himself he would be the best man he could be for her. For now, more than ever, he understood that true love was not about possession or control, but acceptance, commitment, and mutual support. And he was determined to give Clara all the love and happiness she deserved for the rest of their lives. Clara now accompanied Nathan on his business trips, not as a mere secretary, but as his wife. It was a new era for them both, a time of love, companionship, and intimacy that transcended any business arrangement. As they explored new destinations together, Clara and Nathan discovered not only new cultures and exotic landscapes, but also each other, deepening their bond and strengthening their love with every shared experience. For Clara, each trip was an opportunity to marvel at the beauty of the world and be even more amazed by the man beside her. She admired Nathan's determination and professionalism in business, but even more, she loved the tenderness and devotion he showed as a husband. For Nathan, each trip was a chance to show Clara how much she meant to him, He made a point of including her in every decision and celebration, valuing her opinions and cherishing her presence by his side. Together, they faced challenges and celebrated victories, always united by the love and commitment they shared. And as they traveled to the far corners of the world, they discovered that true luxury was not found in lavish hotels or exquisite dinners, but in the simple moments of connection and affection they shared with one another.